about a half hour ago, 45 minutes ago from Alcoa, so he should be here soon. But first item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda of Tuesday, November 25th tonight. Motion to adopt the agenda.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Communications from the public. Did anyone sign up? No. There's public here. Okay, new business. Personnel.
Up first, we have a recommendation for the CNA position at William Tell. Ms. Osborne is recommending Lainey Mullis. I provided you with her after her recommendation. We are still waiting on her background check, so that would be conditional upon that receipt.
CNA, Certified Nursing Assistant.
Correct.
How many of those do we have?
We don't have any right now. This is our first, the board just authorized this position last meeting. So it's to help out, especially with some of our students with more needs. We've got some more medical needs that need some assistance.
You may want to make a motion on that.
Make a motion to accept the position.
Any discussion on it? And there is none. All those in favor of Mrs. Osborne, for me, Lainey Mullis, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, acceptance of HVAC bid.
UDA provided us with the bid tab sheet and the responses from our HVAC proposal, and they are recommending Melkay as the low base bidder, as well as all alternates included. So the start and completion dates will be for the base bid only, but everything falls within our goals. You've been provided with all of the bids as well as the bid tab sheet. So unless there are any questions or comments, and UDA is here, so you can ask them anything you might have. I would recommend that we accept Melkay as the HVAC bid recipient and get to work on some of those projects.
The start and completion dates listed on Melkay are for base bid scope and only falls well within the timeline.
So that's the 2 chillers at the high school, making sure that we have air conditioning for next summer. But we also have HVAC going on out at the high school or at the elementary school that may extend a little bit past that, but it wouldn't be as impactful as the 2 chillers being down is.
And I'll say too that they didn't know what alternates would be accepted to be able to put out a schedule with that. So that base bid was just there, what everybody utilized effectively for giving you a time.
Makes sense. Thanks.
We have a motion on accepting that bid.
Make a motion to accept the bid from Melkay.
Any other discussion on it? Any questions? All right. All those in favor of accepting Melkay's bid, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Now we're in discussion with UDA on the new auxiliary gym.
Correct. The reason we're all really here, right?
Yep.
I've got Jason and Brent.
Obviously, just kind of comment as needed, but I'll go ahead and pull up the progress set if that works for you guys, and I'll try to stay out of the way. So right now we've got a variety of things to kind of talk about, but we wanted to show you the progress of the plans. Wanted to obviously show the revised floor plan that has some of the updates we talked about from our last meeting. We've got a couple very basic renderings to try to start having that discussion. Just basically looking at here's what the form may or may not look like. Here's what some of the colors could be. And then, yeah, we'll just kind of go through some various topics as we go. Let's see. Things on one, so you see the full sheet at a time. But this is just kind of showing you the overall site plan again, and I've got a different one in here that shows the extents of what a third future court might look like as far as the footprint on the site. But this is just kind of a starting point for beginning the site plan portion of the scope. And that also shows some of the items that are going to be removed from a demolition standpoint. And then this is Bethany, our civil engineer, looking at some of the grading and elevation markers. Not a lot to go into for this portion. Still gotta get utilities on there yet. But then we're starting now to get into the revised plan. So this is what you guys really want to see. So here we're looking at the revised, the floor plan layout that we discussed. So we've got a little bit larger weight room area. We've got, kind of show a few things. We're showing in this version, we show the concessions alternate and the offices alternate, and then a relocated mezzanine that may or may not be used, depending on how we want to proceed with the HVAC design. But if it is kept, or if it's kept for, you guys wanting it for storage, this is the new area where we're locating that. So we'll kind of see some of the 3D and some of the elevation work coming up. But this would be a lower flat roof in this area. And then your main box of your pre-engineered portion, as far as the form goes, starts here and here. Part of that reason we did that is to give you the future flexibility that you kind of asked for at the last meeting. For a, if you ever did want to expand, we've got a main frame right here that we could make these expandable end walls. And then you would have your potential addition down below. So we can look at that in more detail. One thing that I will note that we'll circle back to as needed, but we're going to need to be thinking about what equipment do you want in the weight room. So we need to know that from electrical locations, if there's any specific design features, and then obviously budget numbers and pricing. We can come back to any of this at any time too. So,
Well, I mean,
this is just looking at our code analysis for the state review. We've got to provide a code analysis sheet and some of our typical details for that process. So here we're just looking at the wall tags and actually the constructability side of things. Like, okay, the contractor's got to know what materials, what door numbers, what are the features for all the components inside the building. This is a very basic, just an elevation showing what the form could be. So elevation along the east side. One thing I will go back and note, revised on this PDF, but we recommend moving this overhead door back to this exterior wall, just because in the future, if this ends up happening, it makes this access that much harder to get equipment in and out. So we took it to this side, and you'll notice what that how that represents on this east elevation. So again, this would be the flat roof and the weight room portion. All this here would be your pre-engineered, and we're showing some masonry detailing here that we'll kind of show on the renderings coming up. But we've got some different band work and different materials and colors to kind of set the design up a little bit better. One thing that we'll comment on is an option. This would be the main north elevation, which is what we kind of identified as the main more visible front of the building. So that could be an optionality for some of your logos, some of your signage, and maybe breaking up the pre-engineered metal building panel with something a little bit more ornate behind it, so you can kind of break up that facade a little bit. And we've got potentially a canopy over here, over that entry door, just to kind of also break things up and provide a little bit of a shelter out of the rain from that entry. This is just an interior view of the space at the connector, all the canopies in front and back. Now with the recent update that you'll see in the renderings, some of these walls are probably going to be a little bit taller from a parapet standpoint. And we'll talk about it, but we're going to get the HVAC likely mounted on some of these rooftops so that we have less of a concern of exterior items being on the site or causing kind of an eyesore sometimes. Now with some of that recent update, these may go away depending on if we do keep everything on the HVAC on the roof, then these intake louvers would go away. This was just another option that showed a different kind of a band detail. It's got a thinner band, sort of for me to see. You guys can tell a little bit better, but we'll see it a little bit more on the renderings on how some of that relates. This was looking at, and something we can talk about, the way that we could update the elevations to have a little bit of an interior window coming in. So potentially a cow wall detail that it doesn't read as well on elevation, and so you would see it in the rendering if we wanted to do that. But that's an option for you guys. Excuse me, depending on some of the cost. If we wanted to have some natural light coming in the side of the building that you could put along there just to get just an ambient wash light that comes into the courts. And again, another option that we could look at from the panels behind the potential logo area. And here we're starting to look at more of a large court plan that's giving a striping layout and things that we can talk about too. But if you wanted to reuse a logo that you've got now, potentially in the center courts, and then the color scheme that we thought we would do would be to try to match a little bit of what you've got at the main Brian Taylor. So that's all up for debate, but basically kind of the red, black, and then a gray, I think, are the line types that would represent cross courts, main courts, and then volleyball. This layout was much more just as far as an equipment plan, basically coming back to, you got two main goals on each of the two main courts, and you've got 4 cross courts between the two. So this kind of gives an idea when we're talking to vendors to help them, hey, let's get a real budget number based on this data. So that's what we put that together for. And also kind of showing, yeah, we've got the mats, wall-mounted mats on the back just for safety. We've got column wrap mats. We've got our divider curtain. We've got our swing up volleyball goals shown, and then obviously all the same with the retractable basketball goal. And then this is just locating those bleacher systems that we talked about. That roll in, tip up, roll in, place where you need.
Those side goals, when we put those up, will they get in the way of the volleyball
They will not.
swinging up?
We have one layout from a vendor that's kind of proven it can work kind of thing, that they show that, yeah, they've got them where they're, I think all these goals are side swing. These are side as well that go that way. So they all avoid the actual volleyball in that scenario when they're out.
What's the height of like the main gym? What's the height?
The main clearance right now that we're looking at, that section here is 25 feet clear.
And what's that comparison to like Brian Taylor? Possibly.
I don't know what that is. I just know that that is the recommended height for basketball arc.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know what it is compared to Brian Taylor. That's a good question.
Jason, real quick, that 25 feet is clear to the structural component that hangs down.
Yep.
So you got a big main frame, and there's a clear 25-foot box within all that. So big 3 to 4 foot main frame above that is where your actual roof is, which just want to throw that out there that it's
So all the ductwork and lighting and that stuff should be up.
So effectively, the configuration of your ductwork may adjust, but we were looking at it from if they were on the mezzanine, making sure it would work there. So that is 25 feet above. Yeah, it's 25 overall.
John, do you remember what Harrison was?
there's just not all that tall.
Yeah, it's not. All
Over in North Harrison, tried to play volleyball and didn't, so, yeah.
So, I mean, we have the ability to go higher. If you guys have a reason.
Volleyball's hit the roof of Brian Taylor. So
Right, I was gonna say
they're
that's,
gonna, I mean,
if Brian Taylor's 25, that's a plug.
you play it unless it hits something outside the court.
kind of go back to.
Do you have an elevation view of the oxygen comparison?
No, we don't.
Suffice. I think it's probably close to what.
And we're gonna have some tie-in field work that we'll definitely compare that here soon. We can look at that and make sure we're kind of comparison. This one again is kind of a next one. So here's where we're looking at, hey, what kind of a paint striping do you guys want to do? You want to do the full shade that's just like Ryan Taylor in there? So things like that we will need to hone in on here soon to make sure we're on the same page for, but at least we have a plan in place. So we've got the full-size basketball court, volleyball court striping, and then that's the cross practice basketball courts. So I'll probably send out another like large list of questions that we can kind of work through some of this. Just
That's
say,
what I was gonna ask
are
for.
are you good? Are you good with what we've got here on sheet such and such? Just to kind of wrap it up.
I love the shading in Brian Taylor, but when you add in the cross courts,
Or she's busy.
it gets really busy. I mean, in the Ox, we have all the cross courts, the cross court volleyball and everything, and we shaded the lane part.
Mhm.
Instead of inside the 3-point line, we shaded inside the lane, and it worked well because there's not all that many lines inside the lane
In that portion.
in that portion. So that's something that we might want to think about. You know, instead of shading all of that area, set these two up very similar to what we got the others.
So we're not gonna put a cross-court volleyball in
He's
the one?
talking about,
The
instead of shading the whole arc, shade right here.
shade inside the lane instead of the whole arc. It's just less shading. I mean,
Less confusing.
that's what we have in Brian Taylor, but we don't have any cross court lines in Brian Taylor.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. It's we can definitely reverse that out a little bit.
Going from how it connects to the building, is there gonna be a door, to say that if John's hosting something in there, they go down the sidewalk here, are they gonna be able to get into that building without going to this building? Or do they have to go in here first and then go around to, you know, here's what I'm asking?
There'll be a door into the mezzanine, correct?
There's a
So
corner.
we've got kind of this lobby area here that we'll be able to get into, but then
Can't see real well.
when they go to the
Can't see
main
very
court,
well. I'm getting old, Tony.
there's your basic.
Keep going. So where's the,
So from the main parking side, we still have these double doors for entry.
perfect, that's what I feel.
Yeah.
I mean, in this case, somebody wouldn't have to go all the way around, we could, you know, I
Yes.
mean, if
Yeah.
we want to call it, be
Yeah.
so easy.
That-
Everything.
That, and then we have access to the pool also to get in.
Right.
You know,
Keeping anybody
for
there.
getting to the pool.
And then we've still got a set of double doors from an exit standpoint, because we know that's a huge thoroughfare for the kids exiting out. So,
So back to the one with all the lines on it for the courts. So there'll only be 2 volleyball courts in there. We're not putting the cross volleyball courts to have 4 in there.
no, right now, we're only showing 2 main courts so that they could be actually the fold up.
Go down here because that's all the volleyball nets we have, correct? We don't have, seeing the,
We're showing 2 volleyball courts here so that they could be the focal point when it's not obviously basketball. So we don't have anything set up in a cross standpoint for 4 courts of volleyball. Now you could, I guess in theory, you could do something like that and then use portable uprights and mount those in the floor.
I've never really been to a volleyball tournament. I just didn't, for some reason I thought Jim's just had a lot of courts in them for a volleyball tournament.
And these are drop down from the ceiling.
Yeah.
Is there enough room to do a volleyball court Like if it was rotated 90 degrees?
Two,
Yeah.
I haven't looked at that to see what that would leave you guys.
How many courts did you put Brian Taylor?
We normally just run the one, right?
What's that?
One.
Yeah.
What's that?
Volleyball courts and Brian Taylor. So we would have
Just
the
one.
availability to have 4 going on at one time.
I mean,
The current auxiliary gym has.
You can do two and, but you couldn't do it in a tournament. When you turn those sideways, you can't really run a tournament that way because the balls are gonna go in from one court to the other
Mhm.
too much. It just wouldn't work. This situation,
It's been done before.
you know, I mean, if you did this, you would have these two, one in the Ox and one in Brian Taylor. So you could have 4 courts going at the same time. I don't think you could.
You can put 2 in the Ox.
Huh?
You can put 2 in the
You
Ox.
could. I mean, but in a tournament situation,
I have some attorney played with too.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's a little difference, but it has been done.
but I mean, if you can't run a tournament with 4 courts here, I mean, I don't think you can find that. I don't think you can find that many workers to run the tournament. I mean, you're talking huge. You know, four games at a time. That's 8 teams playing at once. That's quite a bit.
Usually time we use the sides are for the kids, right? Is that fair to say?
What's that now?
The only time we go sideways, basketball, volleyball is for the little kids, just practice.
Of course, fifth graders practice then on Saturday morning, then we use that.
Yeah, and kind of on that note, like right now, we're showing 4, 2 on each side here, 2 in here, 2 in here. So 8 total cross courts. I've seen other places that only do 1 in a cross court.
it's too basic.
So that's something,
6 goals.
and that's a savings as well on a goal standpoint. So that's one question we had that internally we're like, well, right now we're showing what you could do from a just, let's maximize everything, but you may or may not want that many goals in some regards. So
What goals do we got right now, Brian Taylor?
We got 6. We got 6 in
Six
every.
there.
The goals in,
Remember.
what would be nice about the goals is that, let's say, 7th grade practices on this court, 8th grade practice on this court, or boys practice on this court, and girls practice on this court. If they go to free throws or shots or whatever, they can still use all 6 goals for shooting drills or anything like that.
you could create a lot more stations.
You can run a lot more stations
Yeah.
and stuff. I would strongly suggest you go 6 goals per court.
You don't need as much room, it still needs a lot more stations.
Yeah,
practice, you
that's
guys
the
get
thing,
shots in,
you know,
things like that.
Having my little first grader doing that, I've seen how they were using it too, and I'm like, okay. They're not needing a lot of space, but they've got a lot of kids to spread out, so. Any other questions on some of that?
We're also talking about those youth, like the youth practices, if you had those side courts, you can have 4 different,
All the
Four
different grade
different
levels.
When they have the
Things
KC
going on
free throw
at the
shooting
same time.
contest, they can, bunch of those get it over.
It takes some of those little guys forever to cross half court. Big gym, so much easier.
Yeah.
So much
yeah, it's just, the whole court is just too big.
And then one thing that's great too, is seeing that in action at very central, but having that divider curtain is been pretty cool, and I could see that being so helpful for you guys just to really separate functions and classes and.
Take focus.
Kind of put a plug in, I know I brought this up, right up on the board. My biggest concern with goals is being able to lower them, whatever. I fear every time we put those 100-pound attachments on those goals, we have these little kids running underneath. I'm just waiting on one to fall, kid.
Yeah.
So having goals that can just auto retract up and down vertically as much as anywhere else.
These are adjustable down. to
Yeah, that
8
was
feet or
8 feet is what they go to,
Okay.
the ones that we've seen. And right now we've modeled, we're talking to 2 different vendors to make sure we get dialed in on the right best pricing and understanding what's available from a control standpoint, but everything that we're looking at is an adjustable goal. You're pushing a button, comes from 10, drops it down to 8. You can see it on there, the legibility. there's different features that I'll put in some of the questions that we get in the details, like, do you want a LED light strip to be timed to the shot clock? Do you need any of that kind of stuff? Some people do that, but, and that would probably only be on the main courts if you did do it.
If Indiana goes to the shot clock at high school, they're not gonna have it in junior high or not.
If junior, like the IHSAA has nothing to do with junior high,
Right.
so they will not make any kind of rule. on
So we
junior
can
high.
just say, you come to our junior high gym, there's no shot clock.
And that's an easy add later. From what I've heard, we kind of talked to one of the vendors. It's like, not that big a deal. If you want to do it, it's fine. It's not a great cost driver. If you want to add it later, you can do that. But yeah, everything would be push button controlled. Depending on what level you decide on, you could have pre-programmed settings. It's like, okay, this one is volleyball. This court is now basketball at 8 feet. Like you could get dialed in on some of that depending on where we want it. Which is really nice. It's all linked to one system, one main control unit.
Are there safeties involved to where they can't bang into each other? You know, like if you're lowering the volleyball and raising, is there, okay.
Everything is laid out the what we had them run this actual layout, and they have it to where it should not. There's nothing that could.
So it's one vendor providing all
One
that.
vendor,
The
yes.
software will work.
Same for
everything.
volleyball, basketball, all that, and then the software and the tie. That's
So
what
they've
they
got
want to have.
gyms that have all of these.
Correct. Yeah.
How
Well, honestly, we're talking to the same vendor that did Perry Central, and then another one that has provided some stuff for you guys here too. That we're talking to.
how are the volleyball nets? So are those lower, actually lower kids or
Volleyball,
badminton, what we do?
I'll have to double check on that. I
Yes, I
think,
think the world.
yeah, I think that would be adjustable as well, but I'll have to double check that.
How low were the poles? So 8 foot, I probably dunk in 8 foot, so I need to make sure that he's going.
Right, you're good. I think you'll be good because we can definitely get it to 8.
Jordan,
I don't think you can run right through it.
You know, I need my physical in.
Build your box to jump off.
So how many scoreboards were there
Right now,
in this?
we're showing 4, so 2 per court.
Can they split?
So if we were running sideways games, could one board go for each court in theory?
Yeah, I think that's a control thing that could be done. Yeah.
Thinking
That's a good idea.
wrestling mats, if we have 4 mats in there, it's nice to have your own
Right.
scoreboard.
Mhm.
Or Brian Taylor, you can't split.
And
So this is by the, they put the like little portable scoreboards for the,
Yes, the
Okay,
little
that's fine,
tabletop
yeah.
scoreboards, is what we, like in the Brian Taylor, because Brian Taylor won't split.
So there will be 4 scoreboards, Hannah, as I was talking about.
Or, yeah, which this, is what he's showing here too, but, just making sure they can all split independent.
So you could run 4 different, yeah, I get it, yeah, it's, yeah.
And we need to we'll dial in on that, but from a scoreboard application, I know there's an additional board feature that could be added that might be more geared towards wrestling. So that sounds like something you would want to have if the regular scoreboard is not as geared towards it. Because I think it was kind of an add-on, if I'm not mistaken. So that's something that we want us to consider.
I'd like to see it, but
Yeah.
the scoreboard and Brian Taylor does a good job with wrestling. You can keep the team score
Yep.
on the normal scores, and then you can put the match score in the foul
Okay.
slot.
You could, I would imagine you'll be able to do the same here, but if you wanted the add-on, then we could. look
I
at
think
that.
the key here is gonna be versatility. You know, we wanna be able to do as much in here as we can, so.
Right.
As independent as those boards can be for various sports, whether it's volleyball, wrestling, basketball. We're doing futsal in there during the winter time, you know. Anything we can,
I'll look into that a little bit more on that, functionality, scoreboards as we're dialing in with these vendors. Make sure we know what we're looking at.
I know we talked about this, but let's say if we make an announcement in office, will that be tied to that? Like if we're calling a kid
Yeah.
or like a fire alarm or whatever, will that all be tied together?
Yes, we were gonna have a component that has a PA system add on to the system overall. We definitely want that. Same thing with fire alarms, we'll have to have it communicate back and so forth. And then another option, it's kind of a little different than just the traditional PA, is if you want a microphone sound system, like I've seen them use, like coaching, hey guys, you got 5 minutes, next up, get ready, get your drink in 5 minutes, whatever. So that's an independent microphone system that I don't know if you guys want, but I saw them use it. I'm like, I wanted to make sure.
Well, I would think we would want something like
It
we've
feels
got
like-
Brian Taylor where they can make announcements and
Yeah.
those kinds of
It
things.
feels like something you would be beneficial when you are running those the little hellions around doing
Yeah.
all the training too. So you got to be able to communicate a different way.
Yep.
Any other questions right off on that?
You're not far from putting this out, are you?
Well, we've got a lot of the general concept down. We got to get through the details and the MVPs though. And once we get honed in on if you guys are saying like, yeah, I feel good about the floor plan overall, where we're at there, then that helps set at least that function. Then we can move some next dominoes.
But ultimately, no, Tony, we're not far.
I love the way you did the vestibule. That's a big deal when they were talking about swimming. Now they have to come all the way to the main student entrance.
Yeah.
All the way back
Down
around. That's
and
gonna be fantastic.
And that's
For
where
parents, and grandparents too, to access the pool and that. It's
Yeah.
gonna be a big deal.
And I didn't forget about it. We haven't physically shown it yet, but I know you guys brought up the thought of, okay, what if something happens in the pool and you had to get back in there? That, I think we kind of tabled it like, well, we could deal with it then by cutting in an access door or whatever they need to do. Because you don't necessarily have to do that now. So if you want us to try to show something, we can, but we weren't going down that avenue yet.
When John, you were here when we did the pool, didn't you?
What do you mean when we did,
When we dug it out,
when we busted out the concrete in front of it? Yes.
came in, we took the student parking lot entrance out. And that's how they drove that equipment in.
Well, I wasn't here for that.
Okay, yeah.
We tore up part of the concrete to replace some pipe underneath the parking lot.
When we did the new stainless doors, we took the doors out, one half of the student entrance,
Brought
they
it down
drove
the
them
hallway.
backhoes all the way down the hallway with plywood on them. And then hauled it out at east side door.
Did that for this gym here, remember? We
Yeah.
had to jackhammer it down.
So that's how they accessed it before, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still a lot of work to take it out.
Yeah.
A lot of money.
How
Other than cutting a door in now.
Yeah, that's the flip side, is you're paying for a door that you hopefully don't have to use for a long time, but
wide's the weight room again? I know we talked this.
I think we landed at,
Yeah, I thought we went up to 30.
yeah, we're I think 30 overall out to out. I want to say this is 28.8 for a masonry coursing interior clears, which works out to be 30 out to out masonry.
That's the width, and the length would be.
Yeah, length overall is a 1014. Yep, 28.8 clear and 1014 is the length. So that's 30 by 1014.
What was that? I remember what
I think it's about 20.
Yeah. 20 by 100, give or take, right?
Yeah.
So this would be.
Yeah, and that's where we talked, we kind of grew the footprint based on the last meeting. And that's where a lot of that space went, and we gave a couple feet back here for a little bit more clearance in front of knees, along those where the little whirling bleacher components would be. Go through a few more things, and we can look at the basic renderings that we started to, just from an exterior standpoint. So let's get into the roof plan and details. Roof. Again, that was looking at the section for a clearance standpoint and trying to set the height of the building. And then looking at the high wainscot masonry component. some sections that we've started that will have to be tweaked, but we're trying to push it forward. Large plans and interior elevations for the alternate for the concession portion. We're finished schedules. And that's just kind of where we're at, so that's the end there.
So that inside of the gym will be, the rafters will be open up to the roof, correct?
All right, again, this was just one quick look at how to maybe break up the facade a little bit. Not necessarily the brick here. We would need to discuss whether we're really trying to match this, which is going to be, typically that's always harder to do. Or kind of break it up and do some type of other feature. We'll look at another option too, but at least the concept was here, having these larger storefront windows that are always going to let a lot of light in, views in and out, depending on how much you want to control those views in and out. But then some band work with a split face masonry at the bottom, some regular brick work at the top, and some soldier course bands, and then having some decorative lights that just kind of do an up-down light to wash that wall, since that's your main feature wall. And then obviously there's different aspects that you could do with that TC logo. That itself could be backlit if you wanted to and actually have it illuminated. You could do a cowl wall system on the back side of that itself too, to where maybe there's light from inside the court that lights that up. Different ways that we could look at it. If you guys have any thoughts or input on that, that's just wanted to talk about some options today. Just kind of going around here just to show a little bit of what that could look like. Again, obviously this helps break up just the pre-engineered box component of it.
Those windows on the front, are they glazed so that you cannot see in? We had talked about making sure that people were comfortable when they're working out.
We could definitely put a reflective coating on the exterior, well, maybe on the inside of the glass, but we could definitely put a coating on it to where you can control that view for sure. And then
What's hard there is during times of day like this.
When you're backlit and it's
Once
shining.
during the day, don't work at night.
Right. So you could specify. You ever put them in where you flip the switch and they fog up?
Oh, yeah. I've only done it for one company, Kendall International.
Because it's like you can go there.
I've seen them, the photoelectric stuff.
yep,
If we all go out, we could have, like, all these windows could be mirrored during the day. It works great. But right now, if you walked out there, we could see everybody in here. So I know,
The lighting thing.
yeah. That's something to think about if that is a real concern.
Well, I think it was a
Bring it,
genuine concern.
keeping the light, just bring it up. Whether it's light washing the inside of the,
You mean like storefront windows up here instead of having them full length?
yeah, instead of having to bring them up, so you get a lot of, you can make them larger since it's masonry. Get a lot of light in, but not have everybody sitting outside looking in. And it's a security thing anymore too.
I don't disagree with that.
I mean, could you do something like she's got there, where it's got tiny holes in it, so you can see out?
Yeah,
the fridge.
Dot matrix.
Dot matrix, yeah.
that's definitely an option too.
That would not,
I know we
Show much
mentioned that
back-
one briefly
backlit,
last
right?
time.
wouldn't show as
That's a
much.
great product.
Yeah, no, it would definitely, there's some cool things you can do
Yes.
with that. Depending on, we have some ideas of,
That,
putting that into windows.
yeah, that could come into a
Some
whole,
more, I don't want to say marketing for a school, but
yeah,
you know what I mean, like,
branding it.
branding, yeah.
So, yeah, that's definitely something to consider. We like the idea of keeping it open, but probably that's the way you talked about it. Like, I'd like to see the dot matrix used if you guys like it, but is it, I don't know much about that. You might
It's not
know.
bad.
Is it reasonable?
It's cheaper than reflective glass, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
That's
We did it out at William Tell around the cafeteria too, and then some of these windows here, so it's not terrible.
not pretty good. solar reflective is running $26 per foot right now. It's horrible. You start thinking about it.
Yeah.
Why do we have to worry about like, if the windows were raised, right, and put natural light in there? We have to worry about, I guess, if somebody's lifting weights, some of those windows, I mean, they're with junior high kids and high school
Right.
kids, God love them, right? And I think it looks aesthetically, it looks great. If we had a concrete wall up a little bit, at least that would
Right,
save this.
and that's a fair comment, and that's where part of that comes back to, we're now ready to really know what's going on in that way.
Security is the biggest thing. But we want light. The
Yeah,
only way to get them both is to raise it up wide.
So you're talking like a blue, thing against the window or something.
it's gonna bust, and yeah.
And we could keep,
From my point of view, I like those pieces of milk because you're gonna need places to hang things on the wall. And you can't hang anything where there's a window. So, you need those spaces. So I would not make them really small because you're limiting what you can hang in your weight room.
Also like to put mirrors and stuff like that in there, so I mean, yeah. And I think it looks great.
No, yeah, I
agree.
That's,
it's
I'm worried
definitely
about,
all food for thought right now, is where we're at, so.
safety, worried about, and breaking it and also.
Can you, real quick, switch over to the section through there so we can see some heights of what we kind of have planned down? This is a good discussion to understand. If you guys want just kind of clear story windows, that'll give you a lot of wall space for mirrors and hanging stuff. Then we look at the heights, I would think I'm 6 foot. You could put, say your windows are at 6 foot up.
We don't have this.
You know what I'm saying? That gives you all your wall space, but a lot of
We do have a
daylight.
little-
Yeah, and it's gonna not allow people to come and
Right at 12
Yeah.
feet. Right at
I like
12
that
-ish.
idea too, I think that's.
So what is the bar joist?
Or Joyce, we are clear.
Did you read it?
There we go. We're 10 and a half clear to the bottom of bar joist itself. And that is, so we can adjust some things on that too.
Well, that interior is probably what, 86 to the top of that window? No, 86, 88.
Yeah, so right here, we're
So that's
showing,
88 inches, more than likely.
yeah, and we were, I don't think this was updated since we tweaked the elevations. So I think what we're showing from a exterior window is maybe a little taller, to be honest, but just some reference. I have to play around with the exterior, but here's what they're saying. It's like on this whole wall here, we go up block coursing to a 6 foot level and put the windows here.
Do a clear story all the way across.
That gives
I
you,
love that.
they give you 6 foot of mirror, or we go a little higher, then, like I said, I'm 6 foot. So you go a little higher maybe to give you all your wall space, but then you have all that daylight. And then it comes back to what you can hang. We don't want to, if we know that, hey, I've got a certain thing that it does go up, we need to be thinking about that now. We can plan for those breaks in the window, something that makes sense to still get what you want to hang on the wall if it's a vertical element like that.
I know the kids would probably want to see outside, and I get that. But we have to look
But you
at,
have other priorities.
we got breakage, security. I know the
Comfort.
thing is, they just go they shoot a door out. Right?
Working outside might be a distraction.
You got more, unfortunately,
Distraction.
more that, a lawnmower that's
Yeah.
a rock, and you got more to worry about that way too. All that.
I agree with what you guys are saying. I like being able to see it all, because I think it's a prideful thing. Like, in my opinion, athletes are born and bred in the weight room, and I just hate to close it all up. I like having that visual. Wow, Chelsea takes a lot of pride in their athletes. Look at this weight room. I get the concern about security and breaking glass, but also hate
Maybe
not having
maybe do one or two openings like that. Instead of
there's a lot of them.
Yeah, you could easily split the difference in the middle, but that's,
If we're gonna have cardio equipment, maybe you have the cardio equipment by full or by the larger window.
Instead of weight.
Instead of weights.
Right. That's exactly what they did at Forest Park, next to their gym, the new weight room area. They got big windows like this, but I drive by it every morning going to work, and you know, there's a lot of kids in there in early mornings. I mean, that's a busy place, but I can name them all off as I drive by. You can see them that clear. I'm just saying, if you guys want to get that visual, it's like all the cardio is lined up on the windows and the heavy weights are in the back. But it is very, especially in the morning, like now, it's very visible. It was kind of a discussion there, back and forth. But I think it worked out well.
and there's kind of like we were talking about too, there's the balance of maybe using that dot matrix for privacy, but you can still see that activity. You know, you can still see enough maybe in there to know that, yeah, that's an active space. People are in there putting in the time. So some of that could be too. But this, we kind of envision just, you know, keeping it open. We'll actually paint the ceiling, paint the structure, and having that open space if you wanted that. So that's kind of where it's at, unless you wanted a ceiling put in there. A lot of times it's not needed, but depends on where you want to land with it. Any other questions on this, or I'll kind of go back through the exterior renderings real quick. There's not a lot more on them per se. We're very early.
Your exterior renderings, what's the main differences between option 1 and option 2?
It was just a color difference at this point. We just wanted to show you, hey, we don't have to commit to necessarily any color, but option 2 that we'll open up has got more of a tan palette versus a red and a dark gray palette. And the tan palette was more this accent stripe would try to tie into the school, but then it's basically saying everything else is different so that you're not trying to match the school. A different way of.
It might be hard to match the brick of the school.
Right.
Exactly, but I think I'd rather be closer to it than making total different colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing we could do now is get brick matching, or, you know, get samples to see how close it was.
Process.
You could pretty close.
I think it'll help too that we're a little bit separated from the building. I mean, we are tied in on the vestibule breezeway. So you would definitely see
Is
it.
it, that, I know just with our office, whenever we added on, it was a make it or break it decision. If I wasn't gonna be dead on, I was gonna go a different route, but we searched and found dead on. So that might help if next go around we come with some updated renderings and actually show you some product that, like, hey, here's as close as we could get. And it might be, wow, it looks like they got it from the same plant from 1970. Or it might be, if it's not, because if you try to match and it's off, it can clash. So that might be a good step to just see.
I have tan and brick, that's gonna clash too, in my opinion.
For this, that part, 1978.
So that's where we're at with it. We got one that's kind of could match and relate, and we got one that's much more just go a different route, but maybe give a nod to it and still color coordinate.
I have a question, just maybe you have an answer for this. Like as far as the color of the doors and windows, you know, being the black or the bronze, you know, maybe that goes with a color scheme, but that's kind of something you guys can comment on. I don't think there's everything around the school right now is anodized aluminum. So
I think honestly we haven't really done a deep dive on it, and I think she picked it, allowed her to pick that based on that. Was on the stripe. We didn't really get into it yet.
Well, I don't hate it because I assumed you were trying to match the new flashing that we put up around with the roof,
Well, then
which
that's
is all this color too.
We've got that
Ties it all in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sharp looking, not that what you have here isn't, but just wanted to throw that out there. Every frame on your existing building right now is this.
Mhm.
I thought it helps set it off.
I said, I don't mind.
Other than clear,
Fix it
it's
there.
all with the dark.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's sharp, that's for sure.
And I'll pull up that other option real quick. Again, it's the same form, it's only about looking at what maybe some other colors might be. So again, this one, where the Soldier Course band, the 3 Soldier Course bands, that would be what we try to match, so that you've got less of that specifically timed and right next to the existing. But then you have some type of taupes or buff colors that then coordinate with the same color, but again, it's not a perfectly matchy match. So,
Kind of coordinating with the new trim, like you was saying.
right, and then still have the trim that would work, I think, and tie in. Maybe it changes the tones of the panels a little bit, but
So as you guys are pushing this square foot on block and brick, you honestly think by not going split face all the way that we'll meet budget by not going split face all the way up or colored split face?
well, one thing about that, Tony, that we went this route is because of how we're trying to get some insulation in the wall cavity as well. So we've got actually a veneer on here. So we went just more of the band than breaking it up here. So we could look at an option that's easily a full veneer of only split face as well.
I'm concerned about the budget.
The cost standpoint, yeah.
You know, there's a huge difference with brick block. Right. There's also a huge look difference. Right. I mean, what you guys have rendered is, I think we all think it for me. I love the look of it. I just hope we follow it. That's
Right, and then we'll try to get dialed in, but I'll definitely look at an option that is all or heavily split.
Like, how much percent more does brick cost than block right now?
If you ask me about glass, I can tell you. These guys maybe I'll tell you about. I can tell you the difference between clear anodized and black or bronze is going to run 15%. But we're not talking about
Which is more than the clear anodized or black.
black or bronze, but you're not talking about that much metal.
Right.
It's the glass that gets you. It's immaterial on this job. There's not enough windows to make it here. But I'm concerned
Block
about.
would be enough difference to make.
I mean, what is the difference? in block?
Well, it kind of,
Substantial.
yeah, I think, go to that section again, Jason, and kind of explain why. If we can zoom in.
Yeah, I see the air gap, which is good.
So with like your ComShacks, your energy code that we follow these days, it's hard to do buildings where it's just solid block walls. Because of like the insulation values we have to get in there. So we're basically 8-inch block, and then you have a continuous insulation board in there. So brick veneer versus, 4-inch brick veneer versus 4-inch split face block veneer, that's where there's not a big difference.
There's a little bit less.
But if we could go back to the days where this is just 8-inch or 10-inch split face block and no air gaps, no insulation values, that's where the old warehouses we would do, all of Jasper engines, all split face, but it's one block.
I understand. Explain it like that, I understand. Gaining the air gap, opening it up, instead of going block all the way.
That was the big difference, like we did think about it
I
first.
understand.
And you
that
can
better.
still do a
That
veneer,
helps.
but when it's only,
The difference
only
between brick,
that.
now we're just doing a 4-inch veneer instead of,
so the difference between the brick and then the split face CMU as a veneer is
I understand.
a bit
That
closer. Now you would see it like in this space, that scenario. That's how it would be on that interior. You'll see that as your demising wall there. And this is kind of similar to what we talked about here, but if you guys want us to or needed to, we do have a couple windows flanking that floor plan that would be above But if you guys want us to raise those two, so you can't necessarily see into the gym or the weight room from each other as much. We can look at that too. But again, it feels like seeing that activated space is kind of fun from either if you're in the weight room looking out or if you're in the gym looking into the weight room. So that's why we did keep these at a high level on the inside of the space.
Jason, on the renderings outside, maybe you already went over this, so I apologize if you did, but where are the HVAC units for this?
Yeah, so we didn't discuss. Thanks for bringing that up. I will go.
I thought the whole roofing was gonna come all with on it. Thought we discussed that.
So what we were looking at is putting one main unit right here. And we're gonna raise the parapet wall enough so that you can't see anything from the exterior or street level or pedestrian. This is actually just a flat roof, not a shed roof. Yeah,
But you're gonna raise it up so
right.
it
We're
sits
gonna
on the
raise it.
flat, but we can't see it because the parapet.
And then the same condition here. So we've got two larger, the plan currently is two larger HVAC units that would serve dual functionality here instead of one. So you got a little bit of redundancy in case one goes down. And then we would have, I think, a couple smaller units that will do the same here for the sessions and or these alternates if accepted for the office spaces. We try to mount those up there on that roof, get the visuals. Again, the eyesore kind of out of the
So
way.
the unit up front, where at one point in time there was 2 stories above that, and then we, the last meeting, took that back. We had a pretty good conversation with our HVAC engineer. And that unit up front is just going to supply that weight room. So it's a small.
So it's not
unit.
gonna be big.
And that's what we talked about, getting the parapets to a certain height, tucking it up below that TC logo. So even if you're out at the street, you're not gonna see that unit. That's the goal. We're still working through that, and we're actually gonna put the actual unit in there to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And then the big rooftops or whatnot that feed the space will be hidden in that well right there.
And these are bigger animals here, obviously, for the volume that they're serving. Obviously, heating and cooling loads are bigger, but that's where we're going to either take up the parapet walls similar in the height that we got shown in the rendering now. We got to refine the look, or we're going to study the next bit, lowering them so they don't look as quite currently at a scale. And then put potentially a screen wall up on that roof to still screen those units. So you look up there and you'd see a decorative panel, but not a big. So
That could get some.
we're going to
dimensions
study.
that.
Yeah, we're going to study that a little bit to make
That
sure.
could be neat, actually, with your canopies, kind of like canopy brick, and then another thing
Another
that
panel that
matches.
matches, yeah. Yep. So that'll be in one of the next, or the next update. If you guys are up for that approach. Now, I guess on that question standpoint, with that being said, the mezzanine that we've got right here, we currently don't need a mezzanine unless you guys want it for whatever random storage. So this could be the height that it needs for your current storage and then some type of sloped roof that you see in other gyms. Just stop right there and then we take out the stair altogether and not have a mezzanine. But again, it's done if you want it or feel like you need it for something else.
John, do you think we need the mezzanine for additional storage?
My philosophy is you can never have too much storage.
The one at Crawford, they didn't have a mezz above it. It just went all the way to the top and they had racks basically and shelving that went up forever.
Pretty good,
Yeah.
pretty good way.
Yeah, and then we could do somewhere here. You know, you could still have masonry up so far and then a stud
Behind
wall.
the bleachers, bring it up.
The stud wall that could still go all the way up. But you're talking about a very tall space.
How wide is it?
That's
We're
what
only-
Crawford's was, right? I mean, it was
We're
open all the way to
only
the ceiling,
10
wasn't it?
feet clear, I believe.
From what I can remember, yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, it was
That
tall.
then to
I know
get
it was real
To the
tall.
top step.
I think they had a little like, almost like a walk behind fork truck maybe that lifted up and down and that kind of stuff, because that's where they stored their wrestling mats. I'd
I'm
have
sure it's 10 feet. So, again, you could,
I just, just want to point out the way it's drawn now, it's pretty narrow space.
Mhm.
If you look at, everybody knows what 10 feet is, it's like from the wall to me.
Right.
So if that 10 feet by 25 foot tall, that's going to be hard to do some lifts and
Mhm.
stuff. It might be best to have a stair to get to a second level. But then again, to store stuff up there, there's that second level barrier.
Mhm.
That doesn't,
Becomes pretty expensive storage too.
yeah, sure. Yeah, because, like that whole, picture set of bar joists at 2 foot centers across that whole thing and another probably concrete lid.
Yeah.
To make that a usable mezzanine because of floor loading codes and whatnot. Because it's like if you give somebody the option to store something, we got to meet certain
Right.
levels because,
Because everybody's going to overload it.
yeah.
Mhm.
So it's a good point that it just depends on how much you use a second floor storage, like getting things up and down steps. It'd be different if there was a small opening up there with a removable rail and you had a forklift running around here like we do in a lot of our industrial sites, but I think that's the case.
In my experience, the more storage you have, the more junk you collect. So it may be better if we don't have it.
way that in, and we could easily put a taller ceiling in there still, so that when you walk in, it doesn't feel like you're going into a cave or something awkward. But you could still put a ceiling in there to kind of confine it. If you wanted it even 12 feet in there, or on the rack system that you've got for high storage. So that being said, you could still have your wall full height if you want. Put a drop ceiling, but you just don't have a second floor.
Would you then add the mezzanine later if you decided you?
I think in general you could.
Yeah, we could look at that.
Make sure that your
Easy, that is-
bearing is there.
What was your question, Larry?
They could add the mezzanine later, like people could decide later we did need the mezzanine for more
We
storage.
almost want it wider and then we taller. I'd almost want to pull it to the south
Right, to get more.
4 more feet.
And we,
$350 a square foot,
How much
$350.
going up is with the new concrete deck, steps?
I'd say that's probably half to 3/4 of that.
yeah,
So you're adding a lot to
Here's-
it's budget already. Yeah.
And we did grow it. Now, going the pre-engineered metal building standpoint, we feel like we're gonna get some economies there. So that helps, kind of counteracts the fact that we grew it a little bit.
because one thing, what Jason and the guys did is they laid their main frames out to be standard pre-engineered building, spacing with above, like, obviously 10 foot up or whatever your block is, that doesn't matter, we don't have wall girds, but then what do you got, a 25 or 30 foot bays?
30-foot base. Yep.
Yeah, so that's pretty standard for 10-inch wall girds. And the discussion of you guys wanting so many feet from the wall, the bleachers, and then in front of you, like it worked out perfect to where that space is within that.
Yeah, so we looked at various spacings to Brett's point, where we made sure we didn't have a conflict with the current layout. Grew it as needed, and then we started our main frame down here, all for the ability to be able to feature it. If you did want to add a gymnasium in the future, or whatever it may be. And that's part of why we had this dialogue of this is now on the current plans, going to be over here. So that this edge, if we look at the site plan, the edge of the building, that overhead door falls in line here to where you're coming off this pavement anyway to connect. So it works out well. And then you've got a picture, if you've got a addition here, then that is now tucked in that much more that you're trying to get equipment around here. It just feels like the natural progression.
Even if you don't expand.
And then obviously there's countless ways that you could get into this, but if you added that almost 6,800 square feet at a minimum for another court, then you got to look at, and we would study, okay, how are we connecting this? How are you getting through here? Does this space now become enclosed as well at that point to extend a corridor and access? But we don't really need to go down that path quite yet, but we wanted to think about it a little bit.
One thing we did briefly talk about, if you go to the floor plan, is if, and maybe you guys talk through this a little bit, but this is pretty big storage in here.
About mirroring that,
Having, possibly mirroring this whole thing, some mechanicals out here. That way, you got access in here and kind of a walkway. If you would ever put third gym in, this could be set up to be a future opening.
Mhm.
If nothing else, taking this mechanical room and shoving it into this storage space here and having an empty storage room. That is someday converted to a corridor that gets into your third gym. Or like our much bigger picture where we're doing more in here to get over to it. Right.
And a lot of that, obviously comes into play. Do these all get accepted? And some of that yet, but I do think moving the electrical room to that corner along with that door, I think that'd be the right play for that potential future. For sure.
Yeah, that's just a room you don't want to move in the future.
Yeah.
100%.
Mhm.
Usually it's the one we all want to stay away from anytime we go to a remodel. And it's right up there, convenient next to the overhead door too. And
Right.
as far as, getting service trucks in, not in, but backed up.
Right up to it, yeah.
You guys want, just from a rendering and or design standpoint, you guys want us to specify and show any type of landscaping around any of these areas?
Question?
Landscaping.
If you guys want us to show and or specify any landscaping around the building in any zones. I mean, we've got a,
Yeah, I feel like we can leave that out and maybe bring that in separate.
Yeah, certainly
Keep the
could.
cost down a little bit.
So you want to include the reduce cost.
Mhm.
we'll show
Just
some,
reseed and saw or reseed, so.
That's what I mean,
yeah, oh, yeah,
at the offset, we may just do that and then we can
then you can always.
dress
add
it up
that.
later.
What we will consider, right now, we're kind of showing a widened walkway here,
Mhm.
but we will leave this as grass so that you can add your landscaping later and not just have it be a sea of concrete.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
And once we get that plan dialed in, that'll be questions. The width of this, are you okay with how much we show? So that becomes pretty simple.
And that'll take out the sidewalk that's there all the way across the building and put in a brand new one.
Right, and then what this doesn't show, this is still showing the old existing, but we're widening that as well.
Right.
Take it back out.
What's the smaller rectangle on the bottom part, right behind the court, right behind the court, down on the bottom?
I see your.
No, over to your right.
Okay.
Yes, what is that rectangle?
This
That whole rectangle, yeah.
These are two, that would be an office alternate. So basically, little bit of a Zoom. So that we're calling it office right now, but that could be if you have if somebody needs a changing room from a referee standpoint. I know you're not doing a tournament necessarily, but if a ref needed a changing area, if you wanted a training table to give an area for somebody to get wrapped or whatever it may be, 2 offices in here that could hold that. So that would be an alternate that everything, obviously the main gym is your base bid, and the concessions and alternate office areas would be your alternates 1 and 2. See what the numbers come in at.
Our current doors, we have there now, are going to be replaced, like 2 sets. I guess I'm worried about getting equipment in and out, mats, and also.
We've kind of thought about that. There's, in this scenario, you could easily take one out, if not both, but this would, if you kept the outer one, say, then that kind of helps create a little bit more of the true vestibule effect. But then you can get rid of one of the inner ones and then make it easier for your equipment moving. Sure.
Width wise, that was a little bit of off. You change that, get the scrubber in, think about wrestling mats, like I try to get those. So we can take the bar out of this right out here.
Your concern is the width.
Width wise, yes.
Right.
So we may need,
Replace that with a double
Yeah.
swing, or you know.
What's the downfall of taking both sets out?
Then if you do have this auxiliary gym be like, the idea right now is you could block off the school
Right.
and allow this facility to be used for something else.
be totally,
That was,
No, I like that.
you know, like say, I mean, like Sundays, I'm at third grade basketball, and it's like, good thing the school's locked up.
Mhm.
Are the restrooms involved in this?
The restrooms would be attached to
the
this building.
restrooms
so-
are part of the base bid, so we've got a set of restrooms here. That should be better included. Yeah.
So
We're all off the school, we can have restrooms here.
Right.
I know when you guys take the mats out, do you guys take out the center bar?
We take them from that room through the oxygen. So we don't go through any doors with a center bar.
I said this one, I think, is all set up different, the way
Does that make sense?
the doors are set up.
Yeah.
You know,
I think
There's never a middle bar anywhere with move them.
No,
How-
I don't
how
think
old
we can deal
is-
with a center bar. I
They-
think that would work well with
They
a center bar.
they don't fit through one door.
Mhm.
But a center bar, well, you can take those out. So it's gonna be something like this right here, I guess, like this one right here.
We probably
It
could
could
have a
be,
double door, right?
Double door, yeah, that would be great.
And the pair of doors that you can make it easy for moving that equipment in and out, then get rid of, you know, you want to keep that one, this one lockable. This could go away altogether, but this turns into a nice open double door scenario.
where you got side lights basically where the doors are now.
Yeah,
And then
reverse
pair of doors in the center. So it really mimicked the door. I can see that, right? 101C there, the door going into the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we need on both sides, just a
Basically.
straight shot through. They can probably both open and go.
But we'll keep one, we'll keep one and get rid of that altogether and call for that to be cleaned up. But if that's what you guys want to do, we'll replace that with the double door.
Yeah.
Basically an airlock.
Yeah.
But they don't get used that much on this side.
Right, and this is a little different scenario. I mean, I don't think it has to have a
Or
four on.
on both sides.
Right. I think,
And this entire lobby acts as that now.
right, it's just a
Right.
larger version, because everything's still gonna be closed around. It'll function well. Been kind of on this tweak because I had taken this back to a double door. We did rotate the potential of a display case if you guys want to do that still. You go in there. Do you,
Actually fit a pretty decent sized bathroom in there.
yeah, we
The
wanted to,
bathroom was that big.
we still wanted to make sure that, you're not typically having your same loads as any of the other gymnasiums, but we wanted to make sure that if this was used heavily, that you had the proper facilities. But one thing I put a little bit back on you guys is who is going to weigh in on the equipment in the weight room, because we do need to get that.
I talked with Brad, while you were going over that with them. I think John is going to get with the PE coach, PE teachers, and some of the coaches to kind of see what we really need to focus on in there.
Yep.
And then we'll get you that list.
That's good. Because obviously we'll work that through the vendor too to get real pricing and all that, but again, if we gotta start accounting for electrical as we're moving things forward.
Right.
And get that plan down. And then it helps us too with the layout, and it may relate to the windows and all that.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll have that for you in a week.
Probably won't see him again until Monday.
Yeah. About a week. Give us till next Wednesday or so.
That'd be great. It would help out. Talking earlier, there's those windows we were looking at that would be behind the bleachers, those little portable bleachers. So that kind of a connection. Other questions you guys have right off, or have any other major questions now? Now there's some
Those windows into the,
refinement.
for you, the windows coming into the gym, from the weight room to the gym. Are those gonna be like
But
a really strong glass? I mean,
Yeah, I mean.
because I mean, there's a
tempered.
possibly balls flying everywhere, hitting those windows.
It can handle a lot. Is there a chance of breakage? Yeah, but it's got, the glass that they've got, it's a low, it's not overly expensive, and it meets all the codes. It happens everywhere, breaks everywhere. With a quarter-inch tempered glass, it's not the only thing you can do. Put lighting in, it's gonna stay, but it's gonna crack all the time. With quarter-inch tempered, it can take a lot. Even with, balls hitting it constantly, it can take the deflection.
And one thing that we do, like when we're breaking it up, you would have a spacing. I think it's even a little more narrow than that right there. So, yeah, you're getting the closer your spacing, you get a little bit more strength too, but there's still be some deflection. Would be
Most of your impacts are the lower kids when the other goes down.
right.
I know when Sydney was in high school, they softball would practice in the gym in bad weather before they had the barn. I know they have the barns now, but I can't help think eventually there'll be baseballs and softballs in there for summer.
They use a little lighter weight softballs when they practice indoors, but I mean, they're not quite as hard as they're supposed to. Yeah.
And one thing,
They're going to be a target for people in the gym watching people work out.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen.
one thing that will help in general is that's also where we're locating the bleachers. So in some regards, that's going to protect a little bit. But yeah, there's.
Yeah, I think what we'd like to know from you guys is if you think you want them or don't want them.
Yeah.
I like them. I know that they're gonna get hit, I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, if you got PE kids in there, they're gonna get hit.
And
Where would we store?
Back to your comment, I don't know if you guys would allow this, but my son plays travel ball and we're at Southridge Auxiliary Gym every weekend hitting baseballs in there. And they actually got metal over their window. But that is baseball, because I was like, I can't believe they allow this in here. We're cranking baseball.
The regulation baseball is like the same ones they use outdoors.
Yeah, they don't let the kids hit them, but they'll be playing. The coach will like hit grounders across, and then of course the kid will throw it back at the guy shagging balls, and it's an 8-year-old, so it's going over there, and them doors, because I laugh, they literally got metal on them, but they allow it. That's something you guys, something to think about.
Are they hitting grounders off of a wood floor?
South there's a wood floor.
Well, I would say we're gonna send baseball to the Barnes.
We didn't have
Yeah.
either ball, well,
So the portable bleachers that we talked about, where are those going to be stored?
You gotta tell us that one.
I think
We have the.
I mean,
the-
is that
there's a plan. What is all that you have kind of
Let me see.
placed out in there? I thought that was the idea, put them down in there.
okay?
Somewhere I seen a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
It was the one that has the mezzanine off to the side.
That's the units there.
But they will fit in there,
We do have the overhead door or a wider
and there's enough to make the turn.
that we can make the turn. So that's what we looked at, is if you were gonna store them in there, we could do it. It also depends on how many you're putting in there.
Is it the life safety maybe? There. Okay, oh. One of your plans.
There it is. I was gonna say, I thought we had it there.
That's them.
So no, this is actually racking here and then potentially ball equipment and various stuff.
Oh, okay, so I thought maybe that's what this plan was.
That's more like a pallet rack style there. But, you know, what you tell us, if you're trying to get all that stored in there, we can kind of rearrange that. But we did make sure that open could allow those. So it depends on if you're keeping them kind of in that position, or if you want to store them, move them all the way.
Can you imagine us having to put them up much, John? With the extra.
Will they be
what we
able-
put the extra on the
Those will
side?
actually fold up, will they not?
They tip up on their back when you're rolling them out. So you could turn them and get them up and take up even less space if you wanted to get cord. But yes, that's also when you're storing them, tip up and roll in, and it's 48 inches wide or something like that.
So you need us to spend some time in it as soon as possible so we can hash out.
Two things.
Yays and nays.
Mostly the equipment, I think, is going to be helpful.
The equipment we can get done pretty quick, but those logistical kind of questions, if you would send those to me and I'll get them out to the board.
Yep.
And then if you want, we could do a work session where you could all
I think we
talk and
should- we
compare
can all talk
answers
about
before we get back with you guys.
The veneers and the glass and
Yeah,
the
that's,
happy medium. Because you need guidance.
right, I think before I was gonna, we kind of leave here tonight, I was a little unclear. Maybe you caught it all, but what exactly that front, as far as seeing in, not seeing in, somewhere in the middle, we can come up with more ideas, but showing a mixture of both, or, 'cause now that we got it modeled, it's clicking buttons to show you different options.
I hate to say this, but I just bid 2 schools that have windows very similar to that, and we're tearing out storefront, and we're putting ballistic glazing in all of them. That's just where we're going. Everybody can see in, but it's 1.25 inches thick ballistic, and 7 windows cost
I was gonna say, how much per window?
$46,000.
I was,
I mean, but that's where we're going.
we're doing one that is like a reception desk.
No different
It's insane what that.
Tear it out, put ballistic glazing.
It's
It's just, I hate it. I can't believe we're living in this world, but we are. And I get Ross's point. I want that look, and I want the kids to be able to see out. But we, you know,
It's,
got limits to our
It's
chance.
sharp.
Maybe the
Damage.
compromise is
Drive by
we put the
Forest
windows
Park and you
inside
see all
so
that
that the
equipment
gym can
and
see
then
in and we
kids in
do
there.
skylights up there on the outside so that nobody on the outside can get it.
It's just, it's where we're at. As bad as we want that look, and it's beautiful. I can't imagine pulling up in the parking lot and seeing that.
I don't want
We're going to
to
come
see
to a
a
happy
marksman
meeting on it.
script on
Maybe
the front.
bring one or two of them. Like that.
Marksman,
I thought I.
it is live on the front of that.
I thought I heard that
In
from
script.
somebody last time. Is it somewhere in here? There it is.
Yes, that.
I told Jason, I was like, for some reason, this marksman rings a bell from the last meeting.
I did.
What about putting a TC there and then Mark's on the.
I just want to see the script somewhere.
I think it'd be sharp on the top.
I do too.
Where the TC is.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Especially if
like
it's not
lit.
insanely expensive backlight.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And if we could do like
That
a
would be
cream
cool.
for that back wall so that it's our school colors,
We will definitely.
I think that would be beautiful.
You like the idea of it being backlit too, then?
Yeah. Oh, I think it will be awesome.
Yeah.
It was expensive.
Yeah, right.
I understand Tony's point, but I'm with Ross.
I get that. I'm just saying, you know, maybe we want to be different. I get the breakage point. I get that. I get, you know, they're not supervised all the time.
They better be.
Yes, it should be, but it should, you never know. It goes up.
You need to stay over on 17th Street.
Stay on 17. You're not the only person that says that. I'll say it daily. Uh-huh. Now, the point to the windows that Hannah brought up was the one that resonated most with me, was the comfort level of some of our girls, especially if you've got people just scoffing. And I hadn't thought of that side of it until you brought it up.
It's just a thought. I tend to get on the negative side of things sometimes for some reason, but
It's the same conversation. I'm thinking of safety. You're thinking of safety too. It's just different safety.
Right.
Hey,
If they can walk in and the
Yes,
kids who are supposed to be coming down the weights could be walking, looking out at some boy or girl that's walking by too, so.
They're gonna go.
Well, that's fine.
So John, will you schedule something for just a work session for the board? We can,
I'll send you guys out an email. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll set something up.
we can,
Yeah, we'll get a bunch of questions to help
Yeah.
drive that too.
So, I mean, if you give me those questions in the next few days, not obviously immediately, I'll get them to the board, give you guys time to look at them and think about them. Then we'll get back together with the admin and we'll bang out some of these questions for these guys.
Hope so.
That way, you guys always have what he was, he just looks at.
That's right. 25 years ago, I got that in there.
Well, anything else right off?
that looks great.
Thank you,
Fine
guys.
tune it, don't
We'll
we?
keep
Yeah,
going and-
yeah,
That's right.
we're falling at a good point. I know the last time I told you guys April, and I think after you about fell over, so it's our last project meeting. I thought this meeting was gonna be next week, but I'm glad it came this week, because I was like, we need to get this thing moving, because once beginning of the year hits for our schedule, it hits the fan, and
We've been at 4 schools in the past month.
so it's like, we're at a good point to, not to push you guys extremely hard, but the sooner we get answers, the better.
Well, if you need anything, I'll be over there on 17th Street.
Cause they're like Tony just said, there's projects that are coming, and it's like, now it's like a race to get them out. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
even other ones that we're not working on, there's only so many contractors around here.
We're sending out the 5 to 7 contractors on all 4 schools. So, and they're not all the same company getting them, so people are they're still hungry.
Oh, yeah,
They just don't want it.
right. Yeah, there's, I was thinking about that, cause like I said, it's like there's some things hitting with us on big projects, and it's like, when it rains, it pours. And you know, this would be a good one to get out first.
Because again, we've discussed this, it's separate from the
Yeah.
school.
So we don't have to shut
We don't
down
have to
school.
wait till school, spring break. We don't
Yeah.
wait till fall break. We don't have to wait till summer. We can
Yeah,
start
that's-
digging tomorrow. And that's what separates this project.
And not having a, you know, 2.5 month window that you have to do something in. You know what I mean? Like that freedom
That helps a lot.
helps a lot. You know, like we were totally renovating the library or something. It's like, well, this has to happen.
Right.
You know, in July. That can raise costs quite a bit.
I think we're in a good.
Curious on the brick match thing.
Yeah, we can
We can start looking.
get going on that. We'll get some samples in that we can set out there and have you guys stop by and look at, or we'll figure that out. I don't know if we want to let them set out.
I don't think we should leave them out there.
That's
That's how strong some of that glass is.
But usually,
Going through some windows.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we go out to do what's kind of block and brick, and they'll stop by and they'll call their suppliers, and it'll get it down to 2 or 3.
Mhm.
2 or 3 that says this is as good as I can get. And sometimes it's right on,
Mhm.
you know, down to the texture and the color. So we can work on that, definitely. Possibly even start getting in some other exterior product, some options. Show them some panels so they can touch and feel it and see it, because, you know, like the color you guys got over there now with that, you'll see that very visible, how that all worked together. 'Cause I think what's presented here is, I mean, it's sharp,
Mhm.
definitely. It would work well with all them colors that were picked. But we are to the point to where we need your blessing on the actual product. We'll present options and you can say, yes, I like it, or no, I don't.
I know, because I hate for you to put from the architect's full range of colors, because that makes it tough on people bidding.
Oh,
You know, because it's
I would love
a nightmare.
to specify.
Since COVID, it's still a nightmare, because you can't get some of it, and then we gotta start offering alternates that are costly.
Yeah.
The closer we can pin it down, the better we're gonna be.
We'd like to know more up front for the same reasons too, just so
Sure.
we can start showing them renderings and we really get.
And I think you would talk next go around that we come to the board, we'll have interior views.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's my intent too, is to actually be able to walk inside and take some interior shots to say, hey, this is what we're looking at. One question I did have on the potential for like the cowl wall or that illuminated panel. You guys want to entertain some natural light windows up high on the pre-engineered metal portion, metal building.
If you're asking me, I'm gonna tell you no.
I'm gonna say, I don't think it's necessary.
Very costly.
Yeah.
Cowwall's a great
Yes.
product, but it is extremely expensive.
Money on the script.
Mhm. Well, not only that, we still have
I
issues with
understand
those
why.
big skylights in Brian Taylor if the sun hits just right and it's starting to blind people. So it's
Yeah.
just one more thing that,
Even
I
if
had to
we're
get that-
occupying it,
I had to get that whole side tinted
Yeah.
so that we could play
Yeah.
in the mornings and the afternoons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're talking on that west side. Yeah.
Yep. so,
I still have to
mean,
get this side too.
yeah.
Because in
Yeah.
the opposite, you know,
That only
in the
helps
opposite
things
season
all
now,
around
this
from,
side.
constructability and pricing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead.
That's it, Mr. Thomas. I'm just waiting for you to
Is this
adjourn.
meeting adjourned?
Is it?
It is.
Thank you.
Well, everybody have a good Thanksgiving.
You as well.